That's what film can do for you.
My name is Sean East. These are all images I've shot over the last 3.5 years. This film is not about me, but it was memories like these which inspired me to make the film in the first place. When I first had the idea for this documentary, I was convinced that there was no way I could actually make it happen, so I set out to pitch and produce something entirely different. Needless to say, that didn't quite work out the way I had originally planned. Instead, over the course of the semester, I found myself continually reflecting on how these years in college have affected me, which they have immensely. Thus, I ended up right back where I started, with the desire to make a documentary about the most pivotal moments of various college students' lives that have transformed them in one way or another. Although I was overwhelmed with how I would be able to cover and present such a topic at first, it wasn't long before I finally realized that the form of documentary was a lot simpler than I was making it out to be when you look at it for what it really is. In the same way that Hollywood makes films in order to generate revenue, and lots of YouTube videos aim to simply entertain, for me, documentaries are made to do one thing: inform. It didn't have to look extravagant, it just needed to inform. So with that frame of mind, I talked to 4 students about their experiences, including their highs, their lows, their goals, and their fears. Because I believe that at the end of it all, one of the greatest and most fulfilling questions you might ever have to answer in your whole existence is, who are you?
Our first answer, the seatbelt sign is turned off. We have now reached an altitude where it's safe to use grocery turning devices. Please note that federal regulations prohibit.
Before I started college, my brother-in-law and I sat down, and he said to me, he said, Micah, he's like, life just tends to have this cycle, and people get stuck in this cycle all the time. And I was like, really, what do you mean? And he's like, well, when you're born, people tell you, what are you gonna be when you grow up? And it's always, oh, he's gonna be a firefighter, he's gonna be a doctor, or he's gonna be a lawyer, or she's gonna be this or that. And it's always like related to jobs. And that narrative, that mentality continues. Then what's the next step? It's getting a job that pays you money so that you can do one of 2 things: to buy the things you want, but most importantly, to buy the things you need: food, clothing, shelter. Primarily, it's all about getting a job to make money to stay alive. The average person lives only to be into their 80s. He's like, so by the time you get your college degree, you're already 22, 23, and you've used a quarter of your life to get a job to make money to stay alive. And then he looked at me and said, so why do you want to be alive?
The best thing that I feel like happened in college was what actually kept me here at school. My freshman year, my first semester was extremely busy. I was working all the time at Applebee's. I wasn't really able to be involved in much, and I wasn't really used to the flow of college. It was a weird dynamic where I felt like I had a lot of friends, but they were all very close as well, so anytime I missed a second of hanging out with anyone from working, then I was automatically just lost, and then I had nowhere else to turn. So I was nearing the end with barely any time and knowing virtually no one, and one of the girls from CCH, Stephanie, she just called me up one day and asked if I would like to get coffee with her. And so I decided to stick with it and stay going here, and it just grew, and I've never looked back.
I always have to go back to the most influential person with me in college, my roommate, Zoe. She was from Taiwan, and she was the person who really helped me realize that I could be more of what I wanted to be instead of just settling. She was the one who kind of expanded my thought process. It's okay to dream, and it's okay to enjoy the simple things in life, because along with my dreaming, I get caught up in how the world works and how a lot of the world is mainly based on materialistic things. And she's the one who really brought me back down to, it's okay to enjoy watching the sunrise, and it's okay to enjoy going on a walk. And I just love that.
Prior to coming here, I guess when I was 18, I worked at a private security firm in Kansas City. I had the mindset of I'm going to work my life away, basically, and that's it. And I'm totally okay with that. I guess everything kind of changed one night. You know, I was really big on going to concerts all the time. I was really big on listening to music. Music was a huge part of my life growing up. Bands would come through, you know, while you're working security at this firm and stuff. And, you know, eventually the time came, this guy I'd recognized, I'll call him out by name, Anthony Pecoraro. We had the same name. He just flat out asked me one night, you know, maybe 30 minutes into a conversation backstage, like, hey, how would you like to be on a production crew and, you know, come work for some bands and fun stuff like that. So there I was, I said yes, went home, told my mom, packed my bags, and 2 weeks later I was out in California.
The other day, I was just really being very introspective and thinking to myself, and it just dawned on me how much I worry. I don't want to be that person years from now looking back at these years of my life and be like, why did I worry so much? Because it's always, what am I going to do with my life? You know, who am I going to marry? What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? And it's like, I've been taken care of so far. And it's like, why did I worry so much?
The worst time for me in college was the transitional period between transferring here and kind of becoming acclimated with Warrensburg compared to my other school. I had different friends, I had to start new relationships with friends, and I didn't know what I wanted, I didn't know where I would be going. I just remember making a lot of poor life decisions during that time. I just wasn't happy where I was at. So I kind of reevaluated what I liked and rediscovered myself through what I already knew I liked, which was the service-oriented things, hospitality, faith.
College wasn't in the picture for me at the time of becoming what we were called roadies. You know, you're living out of vans, tour buses, sometimes cars, rest areas overnight, hotel rooms. And that's just kind of what you did 250 days out of the year. You know, it was nothing unusual to be doing that. About 3 years into working as a roadie, and I was just so burnt out on it. I didn't want to go home. I didn't really know what home was too much at that point because I was never there to begin with. Came here though, it was great. Moved into the residence halls. Transferring to this was just such an awkward, weird transformation, you know. Nobody here really understood like what that was like coming off the road and all that stuff, and moving into an environment like this.
My freshman year, my community advisor, she pulled me aside and gave me an application and told me I had to apply to be a community advisor because I had the perfect personality for it, and I completely agree. And it's now my third year of doing it, and it's more than I ever could have asked for. It's been the thing that's brought me out of my shell in college and has moved me into wanting to go to grad school for student affairs and continuing that on and having that ultimately be my job.
I think one of the best things anyone can do in college is familiarize themselves with people from other countries, see how the world thinks about things, because it challenges you and it challenges them, and helps you, I don't know, learn how to relate to people on a different level.
I'd say the biggest struggle I've had throughout college is in the midst of having this inclusive community, in the midst of being surrounded by people who I know care about me, I still feel lonely. And I think that that's just like a really interesting phenomenon to happen. And the more I find myself getting into this sinkhole of loneliness, of never feeling really truly connected with people, like truly knowing their story, them truly knowing my story, is losing that egocentrism, just giving it up and saying, you know, maybe life isn't just about me. Maybe it's about them. And then out of that, I think it changes you and you forget about loneliness sometimes.
The experience of college and everything that I've gone through in it, I don't feel like I would be anywhere close to the same as I am now if I hadn't had these experiences. I feel like I'm really strong in myself now because of what I've gone through.
Though academics are a great thing, I feel like the people that I've met along the way, along with meeting international students, have challenged me and made me just who I am and who I want to be, and maybe made me realize more of what I want to be or more of what I can do. I'm proud of the person I'm becoming more than anything else, because I feel like I still have a lot of potential that I haven't yet grasped.
Anymore, it seems like if there's a challenge thrown in front of me, having gone through, all this transition and stuff like that, coming from such a different perspective into college, and you can kind of compare what's happening now to what was happening then and just think, man, this really isn't that bad at all. So I'm just grateful to be here, if anything.
Because we're 7 billion people on this planet. We're just ants in an anthill. And we never stop to just look at people in the eye and to ask them, how are you doing? Not just oh cool, but really who are you? What's your story? And I feel there's 7 billion people, but me getting to meet and talk to one person, if I can impact their life, I've changed part of the world.
Live with a human for a while and you get to know a few things. I know she's actually not a morning person. I know she does strange tricks for no treats. I know that water makes her howl like crazy. I even know how the floor stays so clean. She's quick. But the one thing I will never for the life of me know is how she gets so tiny and inside that box. Natalie, how do you get so tiny?
I choose red to blaze my own trail.
I choose red to be with students and faculty who make me feel at home.
I wanted a university with a big picture perspective. That's why I chose red.
Why do you choose red?
Choose red.
Choose red. Choose the University of Central Missouri. Choose red. Can I do that? Is that allowed?
Pure
I can move this if you want to.
Oh no, you're fine.
Well, my major is middle school education. I'm a senior this year. Apple pie is one of my hobbies. I guess you could call it a hobby. I've been very active throughout college. For me, just for me time, I love to go to the gym. I love to work out. I love to lift or run. I think body image is how you perceive yourself. It's how you look at yourself in the mirror. My body image really wasn't a huge deal until my senior year of high school. I had an amazing friend group in high school. All my friends were super supportive of me. Bethany was a friend I had from literally middle school all through high school. But she was the first person that I saw become anorexic, be sent away for 4 months to a hospital for rehabilitation, basically. And then she eventually relapsed again in high school and got sent away again. She was the one friend I had who actually I could connect with on body image issues also in high school. None of my other friends kind of understood that. A lot of what led to my body dysmorphia, body image issues was because it was the only thing I could control in my life. It was really the guy I dated through high school that gave me a bigger complex about how I looked. He joined the military, was sent away, deployed for a year, and then everything kind of spun out of control through there. He just would tell me I was a bitch, I was a whore, that I was never good enough. I just felt like I was always walking on eggshells with him. There was this one time that I remember going over to his house and he was like, "Why'd you wear sweats? Why don't you ever wear jeans around me?" And we were literally just hanging out watching movies, and I just felt so ashamed. When he went away to be deployed, or he was in tech school or something, it just for me was always okay, I have to make sure I look good because that way he'll still love me. It was just a sick sort of mentality that I didn't even realize I had at that point. Once I finally ended my toxic relationship, I spent a lot more time with my sorority sisters and getting involved on campus, and I just learned to control my life by myself and put my energy in other aspects. I mean, I felt very selfish for having these issues, but then at the same time I get super frustrated because I feel like people judge me when they don't even understand what I've gone through. I've always wondered if like me having these issues or body image issues is a genetic thing. My mother has always been my best friend, but she's also been one of the biggest things that makes me weak. She, through my whole life, has had a body image issue. She never ate. Like, I never witnessed her eating as I grew up. For me, the mentality became, I have to stay tinier than my mom because she was always never over like 100 pounds. When I started to really drop weight really quickly because I just want to eat, I ate very little and dropped 10 pounds in about 2 months. She didn't encourage it, but when my dad would try to get me to eat, she would tell him to stop. She'd be like, she's not hungry, just don't force her. As much as she loved me and supported me and wanted the best for me, she never understood that her actions affected me much more than she could possibly ever realize. She never taught me how to eat right. I was never taught to eat 3 meals a day, to eat like a certain amount of food a day, to eat this and it's good for you. It was more like, oh, well, if you eat that, you can't eat this later. And that's what I was taught from at a very, very young age. She didn't understand she was doing that to me, and it like controls every aspect of my life since then. The image issues just didn't go away. For a while, I was like fine with how I looked. I maintained my weight for the first time in my whole life, but it came back. The July before I came in as a freshman in college, I weighed 103 pounds. And my doctor looked at me and was like, do you realize you're skinny? You cannot lose any more weight. And she talked to me about like eating right and like how I need to start gaining weight. And I didn't want to believe her. I would just look in the mirror and like literally hate what I saw. I would talk to Bethany a lot. She was the one person I could actually talk to about having like an eating disorder, about having body image issues. And so that really helped in a way, but it didn't cure anything. What people don't understand about it is it's like, it literally is a demon with like inside you. It's like this voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, that you're not skinny enough, that you're not perfect, that nothing you do will ever be good enough. That's why I ultimately started lifting, was because you became strong. You didn't become weak from it, you became strong from it. And I think that was a good outlet for me to finally start lifting, because it gave me a strength that I really needed to hold on to. It definitely defined my senior year of high school. Looking back on like my prom pictures in high school, seeing how skinny I was, it like makes me sick almost. There's still days that I struggle a lot. If I go a few days without working out, I feel pretty shitty about myself. With anybody who's ever had an eating disorder, it's a struggle. It's a battle every single day. It doesn't just go away. I think my body image issues will be something I struggle with for a long time. I don't think it's just gonna go away. Eating right and knowing how to eat and like knowing what's good for you and what's not, and enjoying stuff. So in the future, when I have my own kids, especially when I have my own daughter or daughters, whatever, they will not suffer the same way I have. Find a reason every day to look in the mirror and be like, I love myself because of this, or I love myself because of that, or I love like this about myself today. And if you have to say it 50 times to yourself, then say it until you smile. You just have to appreciate yourself for who you are and love yourself for who you are. You can't rely on your friends, you can't rely on your parents, you can't rely on your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, to get you through it. It's gonna be you that gets you through it. It's you who saves yourself, it's nobody else.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
social injustice,
racism, sexism,
tyranny, inequality,
mass poverty,
disrespect for others, starvation,
social justice,
equality,
democracy,
a more widespread education system,
being fair to everyone.
Social justice is just simply being tolerant of other people.
Everyone being equal and having the same rights.
I'm really excited that the film festival is coming. Independent films and things like that. I look forward to seeing what gets shown.
All right, well, I want to see that.
Look around you. 1 in 4 kids in the U.S. faces hunger. It's not always easy to see the signs, but in this land of plenty, there are kids that don't know where they will get their next meal. Join Share Our Strength in Food Network and take the pledge to end childhood hunger here in America by 2015. Learn how at NoKidHungry.org. Their next meal could come from you.